you had to have heard about the controversy with Just Pearly Things and her interview with Nick Fuentes, unless you were in an alternate universe. Despite all of this conversation about the Just Barely Things interview with Nick Fuentes, and that focused primarily on her comments during the interview, there hasn't been that much discussion on who Nick Fuentes is. There's been some, and people have called him a white supremacist, a white nationalist, an anti Semite. People have called him all these things, but people have not gone into depth into discussing why he has received this characterization. And in fact, I remember seeing Nathan Daly do some coverage of this situation, and he referred to a Wikipedia article that talked about Nick Fuentes. But is Wikipedia really a reliable source? In fact, so I want to tell you, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Mike, and Mike doesn't know Nick Fuentes. I've known about Nick Fuentes for quite some time. Mike is saying to me, like, okay, I'm hearing all this controversy. I'm hearing people being upset. And yes, I heard what Pearl said, but in terms of saying that Nick Fuentes is an anti-black racist, like, I'm waiting to hear that. And I said, wait, did you see? He says, oh, hey, I don't need you to tell me. Mike said, I'm the type of individual, and you know me, I'm the type of individual that I like to do my own research. So I don't need you to tell me about Nick Fuentes. I'm going to go ahead and do my own research, and I'll let you know what I find. I'm like, cool. I'll talk to you tomorrow. So Mike goes ahead, does some research. I give him about 24 hours. I give him a call the next day. Next day, I call Mike, and Mike says to me, hey, so Aaron, you know you said that Nick Fuentes is anti-black? He said, did you know that Nick Fuentes has several black friends? And I'm like, well, he goes, listen, hear me out. He says, of course, his most famous friendship that people are aware of is Ye. Even though people may think that that's just a business relationship, I recently saw him discuss how he may not be working in an official capacity on Ye's campaign, but he still remains friends with Ye. Not just friendly, he said friends. He still remains friends with Ye. And that's not the only one. He said he also has a friend who's a MAGA rapper whose name is Bryson Gray. And Bryson Gray has gone on the record to say, listen, this man is not racist. This man's my friend. And these claims about him aren't true. I said, but wait a minute. He goes, hi, Aaron, I told you I was going to do my own research. Now, I'm not done doing my research. I just wanted to give you some of my preliminary findings. This is what he says to me. I go, okay. He says, so I'm going to go back, do some more study. I'll get back to you tomorrow. So tomorrow, the next day comes, and we start talking. And he says, hey, so I told you about the black friends, but I actually have some clips I want you to see. I want you to see these clips of things that Nick Fuentes from his own mouth said. I said, okay, let me see it. And then he showed me the clips.
That's so funny. My Black Wall Street groiper. Talking about Black Wall Street. Black groypers are rebuilding Black Wall Street. Great story. We love this guy. I love this guy. Black people fighting. Here's another video of black people. What's the end game there? I mean, what do you want to happen? So what are you, like a criminal justice advocate or something? You're like in favor of tough crime policies? Like, yeah, I don't know if that really solves it. Listen, the answer to America's problems is not racism.
Now, after showing me these clips, he was like, see? Now, do these sound like the words of somebody who's anti-black? He says, listen, and we're not discussing his other views. We're specifically speaking about whether or not he's an anti-black racist. And he says, and hey, listen, like I said, I'm just starting. I have some more videos to look at, but I wanted you to see these and just think about that. So I'm going to watch these other videos, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Next day comes, and he says, so I watched some more videos and watched some more of the things he had to say. And he said, these are really interesting. And so he showed me these videos. He showed me these following clips.
Fighting anti-Semitism, fighting racism, I don't think that cracks the top 10. Because I don't think those things are real. I don't think
My Black Wall Street groiper. Talking about Black Wall Street. Black groypers are rebuilding Black Wall Street, one nigga at a time. Hey, yeah, absolutely, man. It's a great story. We love this guy. I love this guy. Smart black fella. Hey, listen, you black fella, you're pretty smart.
I want you to come work for me. I want you to come work for me. But here's another video of black people. What's the end game there? I mean, what do you want to happen? Yeah, black people are violent. We know. Everyone knows that. Go on Twitter every day to tell you, blacks are violent. Did you know blacks are violent? Did you know that 13 to 50? Did you look at this? Blacks punched a guy. It's like, what, were you born yesterday? It was your first time? You just figured that out? Yeah, we know. So what are you, like a criminal justice advocate or something? You're like in favor of tough crime policies? Like, yeah, I don't know if that really solves it. I don't know that really solves the... Listen, the answer to America's problems is not racism. I hate to be that guy. And I'm as racist as the next guy. Don't get me wrong. You know that about me. He knows. Why do they play the knockout game? Why do they punch white people in the street for no reason? Why do they rob 5 7-Elevens in 30 minutes? Why do they walk around with their pants around their ankles? I don't know. I'm not black. So it just doesn't matter. So why would we create these opportunity zones and a platinum plan and just send the military in? Do what must be done. Send the military into these black neighborhoods, make the streets safe. They'll complain about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're never going to vote for us. 9 in 10 blacks vote. The narrative has to be busted here. This has nothing to do with civil rights. The problem underneath all of this is black behavior. There is no legitimate movement. It's not about civil rights. It's not about police brutality. It's not about the police. It's about black people. It's about black people in big cities and the fact that they commit a lot of crime. That's what this is all about. You've got black people, black men in particular, young black men in particular. Better is run by Bannon. And Bannon is the fat retard that goes on these shows and says, we're going to have African Americans voting 50% for Republicans, and we're going to flood the zone with nigger votes. I mean, that's like, literally, he goes on these shows and says that. That one slipped out.
After the clips finish playing, he looks at me and says, and that's Nick Fuentes, in his own words. He says, I get what you wanted to tell me. I get that you have seen things of him, but I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to find out for myself from his own mouth what he had to say, because he says, in my research, I saw somebody talk about things he had said, and they couldn't specifically say, well, what had he said? And I say, okay, so now you understand. He says, listen, I completely understand. And I just think that it's important that if people are going to call him this, to even if they don't have the videos ready, at least have the quotes ready, to know specifically what he said, to be able to point to, look at what this dude is. And yes, he says, I also actually watched the rest of the Pearl interview and saw where he even says that he's racist, his conversation with the Italian girl. But I did find it interesting that he didn't really want to deal with his anti-blackness. And he says, I'm trying to figure out why that is. Do you think that he's moved away from those at all? And I said, no. What I think is he is now connected to one of the most famous men on the planet, a man who is filthy rich and has immense power, a man who also happens to be black. I think Nick Fuentes is smart enough to downplay that aspect of his beliefs in order to maintain in the good graces of Ye. In order to maintain his access to Kanye, he's downplaying his anti-blackness. It's in his self-interest. And I said, at this point, I think there's a video I need to show you about what Nick Fuentes has said recently.
I'm a political figure, and I want to organize a massive movement politically to take over the country. And that involves a great deal of associations. And sometimes they're not all good. It's as simple as that. If you have a problem with that, well, you try to build something. That's what I would say.
I said, did you, in your research, I'm pretty sure you heard about the Groypers. And he said, yes, the Groypers, the people that follow Nick, and they're like his devoted followers and servants, maybe. I said, yes, this man has a group of men who are a group of people that are devoted to him and that will follow him and are at his beck and call. And this man is talking about creating a movement and that his goal is to take over the country. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is Nick Fuentes is connected to politicians. We've heard about his dinner with Trump, and Trump, oh, I disavow it. But nonetheless, Trump saw fit to meet with this man, former president of the United States. Then there's former Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who's spoken at Nick Fuentes' America First conference. We've got prominent politicians such as Wendy Rogers and Steve King. And then we have a sitting U.S. Congresswoman in Marjorie Taylor Greene. Nick Fuentes is not just a YouTuber or a former YouTuber. Yeah, he was on YouTube. He did videos. Nick Fuentes is not just some joke guy that's playing on the internet. Nick Fuentes is a guy that has internet presence and has parlayed his internet presence into an actual movement. There's a bunch of people that don't seem to realize what's going on here. There's a bunch of people that are acting like, what's the big deal? Because these people don't do research. These people are not serious people. Nick Fuentes is a serious person. It's actually funny. During a recent interview Nick did with somebody, and I'll tell you who that person is shortly, but he did an interview with the person and he talked about Pearl. He talked about how his interview with Pearl came to be. Because if you remember in the Jason Black video, Jason Black talks about Pearly Things and Adam 22. And I don't think he actually mentions it in the video, but that Adam 22 also had an interview with Nick Fuentes prior. And then through Adam 22, because Adam 22 during the interview, actually during the interview with Pearl, asked her if she likes Nick. Would she go out on a date with Nick? He then, behind the scenes, according to Nick, puts them in contact with each other so they can do a collaboration. But a lot of people are missing that Jason Black kept talking about this is bigger than just Pearly Things. This is bigger than just Adam 22. And then you've got clowns like Anton Daniel who said, what does stay on code mean? That's what stay on code means. Because if you realize, these white folks are on code. Adam 22, Just Pearly Things, Nick Fuentes. Seemingly completely unrelated lanes, but all uniting in their pursuit of pan-Europeanism. Because remember, Nick Fuentes is about white power. Nick Fuentes is about white supremacy, white nationalism. That's what Nick Fuentes is about. And then you have these white people that are surrounded by black people. They have black people working for them and around them. Their audiences are heavily black, but they are very cozy with this white supremacist, Anton Daniels. That's what staying on code is. And you can delude yourself, you and others like you who have caped for Just Pearly Things, who are pretending that Nick Fuentes, or who aren't even discussing Nick Fuentes. Y'all can act like, it's nothing to worry about. And then, of course, let's not forget Ye. Let's not forget how much of an idiot Ye is, because Ye is helping to make this dude even more powerful. Ye, who talks about he talks about how black people need to come together, but then his personal life, his romantic life, and his business and political life clearly indicates he's operating in contradiction to the words that are coming out of his mouth. And I also want to point out something else, because a lot of people saw Pearl's video about her taking accountability, which she later rescinded, but she rescinded more than that, because in that video she talks about how she shouldn't have done the interview with Nick, and her other employees told her she shouldn't have taken the interview with Nick, and it was a bad idea. She should have had somebody there that could push back, despite the fact that wasn't the biggest problem. The biggest problem was the biggest criticisms of her was that she was co-signing. She wasn't just co-signing. She actually tossed some stuff in there that he wasn't even talking about. She gets on Trigonometry. She gets on an interview with a different platform and says that Nick Fuentes isn't racist. Y'all still covering for Pearl? Are y'all? Because she's covering for Nick. Y'all covering for Pearl, saying she's not racist. She's covering for Nick. She's publicly covering for Nick Fuentes, an avowed white supremacist, and an avowed anti-black white nationalist. That's who she's covering for, while y'all are covering for her. But Pearl ain't racist. See, what's interesting is I'm looking at this and I'm like, I wonder how long it's going to be before Pearl appears on Cozy TV. Oh, you don't know what Cozy TV? Because if you saw, at various times, Nick is wearing a shirt saying Cozy.tv. Cozy.tv. That's his website. Because what Nick did, he knew he was about to be deplatformed. He knew he was about to get kicked off of social media. So he downloaded all of his videos, copied all of his videos from off of social media, and uploaded them to his website on Cozy TV. And he has a bunch of other people that are on the platform, his platform, Cozy TV, as well. And I'm like, how long is it going to be till Pearl ends up there? And by the way, the interview I was talking about, where he discussed how he and Pearl got into contact, that interview was with Obsidian, Mumia Obsidian Ali, the co-founder of the Black Manosphere. Yeah. That dude had an interview with Nick Fuentes. And in that interview, what Obsidian did was say, oh, I disagree with your opinions about the Holocaust. Oh, that's what you disagree with him about. Anything else? But there is one more thing. One more thing. While I'm looking on Cozy TV, I was pretty surprised to see that there is somebody already on Cozy TV. Now, I don't know if he has permission to, but I look, he has a channel on Cozy TV, and that person is Destiny. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. As always, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, like, share, subscribe if you have not subscribed already. But if you disagree, feel free to give me a thumbs down and tell me in the comment section why the words that come out of Nick Fuentes' own mouth are to be ignored. And we're supposed to believe that, no, he loves Black people. I'll see you next time.